All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of AYS Fight Club, first episode of 2021. I'm your host, Daniel Dees. Alongside me, as always, is Matt Bricker. Matt, what is up?
Hey, not too much. We're going to start the new year off with a good show here.
Let's get down to the nitty gritty. All right, let's talk about something. I want to predict the future. And at the same time, I kind of want to apologize to our boss, Blake. I'll get to that in a second. Blake, if you're listening, I apologize. Why? Hold on one second. All right, so this past week, George St. Pierre got on Twitter and said, I have big news to announce tomorrow. And everybody was excited. And then he hit us with, it's not a fight announcement. All it was a Budweiser campaign he's working on. I don't get it, but whatever floats your boat, George. Whatever puts money in your pocketbook. But I don't believe him. I have a prediction because something came out recently that rubbed two of my brain cells together. The only two brain cells that I possess in my skull rubbed together and figured it out. Follow me here. Ever since retirement, George has been training every single day, 7 days a week, never takes a day off. All of a sudden, it got out. Firas Zahabi, his head coach, said that he's only training 6 days now. So 6 days. You go from training to 7 days, all of a sudden you're cutting it back to 6 days. That only tells me one thing. That tells me you're upping your training. Why would he up his training? He's coming back. And Firas Zahabi also let it slip that, yeah, we've been doing some practice cuts with him, and he's been making lightweight easy. He's coming back. But is it against Khabib? Nope. Here's my prediction. Let me rewind a little bit. Khabib also came out this week and said the winner of Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor will fight for the title. You see what I'm getting at right here? So my prediction is the winner of Dustin Poirier, Conor McGregor will be fighting GSP. So we're going to get GSP versus that winner. And what's going to happen after that? Khabib. So I apologize to Blake. Blake has said that Khabib's going to come back. He's going to come back. And it's like, no, he's retired. But this is what's going to get Khabib to come back, to take his title back. He relinquished it. And he said the winner of Conor Dustin Poirier should fight for the title. He didn't say against who. So that tells me that he knows that it's going to be GSP. So my prediction for 2021 is GSP versus the winner of Conor Dustin, and the winner of that goes on to fight Khabib. Matt, what do you think?
Hey, I like that. If it comes to fruition, that'd be an amazing storyline for 2021. It gets Khabib in there under, even if it's Conor, it's still a different route to that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the thing.
Challenger.
Yeah, it's a new road to that. I think everyone would love to see, what we're hearing is everyone would love to see Conor back in there. But this route, if it is Conor, even if he does beat GSP, the route he would have to take to get to Khabib, if you could beat GSP, then I think you've earned your colors to get back in there with Khabib for sure. And there's nothing Khabib could say about that.
Right. And what's a better matchup? Conor versus Khabib or Conor versus Khabib after Conor beat GSP? What do you think is going to sell more? It's going to be obviously Conor beating GSP is now fighting Khabib. That'd be one of the biggest feathers in Conor's cap. And also, here's another thing about Dustin Poirier. I was going back watching some Khabib fights, and I've noticed something about post-fight about Khabib when he fought Dustin compared to every other fighter he's ever faced. After the fight, Khabib was hugging up on Dustin. They changed shirts. He was showing Dustin all the respect in the world. So what that tells me is that Dustin gave him hell. And I think he did, especially when he almost slipped in that guillotine in round, I think it was 3 or 4. And I thought Khabib was saying, look, you gave me the best fight of my career. So I think he would like to run that back too. So we'll be either getting Khabib, GSP, Khabib, Conor, GSP, like just so many different matchups just between those four. And I think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, and Khabib even said it before. If Conor wants to get back to me, he's going to have to prove it. And I almost feel like this is something that if this happens this way, this is Khabib's doing. Like, I feel like if this is really what's happening, this all may be Khabib's idea, to where he himself will feel like whoever gets to him, if you beat GSP or if GSP comes back and shows that he can take out Conor or Dustin, that's a big step in showing that you're still around, who many people will consider you the greatest ever, to show you still got it if you can take one of those guys out. And then to go to Khabib. So like you're saying, that road for whoever gets that spot and fights Khabib, it's going to be, it's definitely going to set off more fireworks for sure, the route you have to take.
Right. And not only that, it gives the lightweight division plenty of time to create new stars. You got Charles Oliveira, who just put on the performance of his career against Tony Ferguson.
Yeah.
We just got so many guys up and coming on that. So at the lightweight division, while that's happening, take those four out of the equation. Who at the lightweight would you like to see rise to the occasion, like become that next guy waiting in the shadows once those four clear the smoke? I know we got Charles Oliveira. I know we got Justin Gaethje. We got Mike Chandler. Possibly Tony could still do it. I don't know. So who do you think, besides those names I just named, who do you like to see at the lightweight division rise to that occasion?
I know they're saying Dan Hooker may be fighting Chandler coming up soon, so that may be a good way to start snowballing some stuff. And I just want to see different, fresh matchups and just let it evolve from there. It's always worked out best when the sport has let itself evolve instead of, doing the Sage Northcutt anointment approach, and you see what happens to that when you try to anoint somebody as who you want next. It's just whenever it kind of happens on its own evolution, that's when you get your true big stars. So I'd love to see just new matchups, get some new fresh matchups in here, and just let things evolve. You have your main guys at the top busy in something, and then get your other guys and just let it be organic. Make fresh matchups and let it go from there, and then pull out from there. I mean, you always knew Conor was special, but when it kind of evolved on its own, he just kind of blew up to its own thing. Do that. Just let it kind of blow up on its own, and then pluck that guy out and go from there. And they have this thing where too early they want to throw somebody out there and make it surround the show around him. I kind of like the Bellator approach where they kind of baby these guys, they kind of, slowly, evolve them. I think the UFC, they kind of move at a bit faster pace, but like I said, for some of these other guys, just let it slowly evolve, and whoever evolves, pluck them out and throw them in that group and go from there.
Oh, I agree 100% on that. So, but let's backtrack a little bit. Who would you like to see fight GSP? Which matchup do you think tickles your interest the most? Would it be GSP Conor or GSP Poirier?
Man, they're both good because of the element of GSP. And, I think that's what makes him such a great fighter is you can put him in there with anybody and you're going to want to watch. It's really going to depend on, I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question. That's a good problem to have. I don't know. So I guess that means I would be happy either way. But man, there's just so much because Dustin is very well rounded, the amazing boxing, to see, and obviously he's got that black belt in jiu-jitsu coming up under Tim Prater, going to American Top Team, his evolution there. He fights with amazing wrestlers at American Top Team. They have some of the best wrestling coaches in the world.
I was going to say that.
So, I mean, it's not like he doesn't know how to, wrestle or stop a takedown or any of these kind of things. And then Conor on the other side, just the dynamic, he got in there with Donald Cerrone and just, broke his face with his shoulder. You just never know you just never know what Conor can do. And, get him in somebody with like GSP. I would have always loved to have seen a more prime Anderson Silva and Conor McGregor, kind of those same kind of personalities, those same kind of abilities for fireworks at any second. And that's the thing that Conor brings to it is Dustin may be the more better matchup for GSP, being some more closer skill sets than what Conor does. Obviously, Conor's striking's on a whole different level than everybody else, and he kind of pays for it in other areas. Where Dustin is more like GSP, more of just solid everywhere. But Conor McGregor brings that that wow factor, that firework factor. That's why Robbie Lawler is always one of my favorites. It's just because you never know that one punch could end it in a split second. Like when he's fighting Melvin Manhoff, Melvin was tearing up the legs in Strike Force, and then Robbie caught him with the right hand, and it was over that quick. I mean,
One of
he
my
was
favorite
down,
fights.
and that quick it was over. And that's what Conor brings to it. That quick he can end it.
Absolutely. Can't wait for 2021 to play out. And I'm like 99.9999% sure my prediction is going to be right. I'm sold on Dustin Conor winner fighting GSP, and that winner going on fight Khabib. I'm 100% sold on this. If I could predict lottery numbers alongside this, I'd go ahead and do that too. So let's go ahead and move on to our next topic. All right, so next we have a fight announcement. Izzy Adesanya versus Jan Blachowicz. I gotta tell you, I like Jan in this. I like Jan in this a whole lot, and I'm like one of Izzy's biggest fans. I just think this is a bad old matchup for Izzy. I think he is out of his element. I think the money's going to be on Izzy because they said, "Oh, well, look what he did to the power guys like in Yoel and Paulo Costa," whereas Jan fights at a completely different fight IQ level than those two put together. Not taking anything away from them, but Jan he has that fight IQ that not many people talk about. He's not going to sit there and let Izzy lead the dance. He's going to get in Izzy's face and show him some Polish power. Not like guys like Paulo and Yoel who maintain their distance because they were so scared of Izzy's counter-striking. Well, not many people know this. Jan can counter-strike too. Jan is very good at setting up his combination. He's a very good boxer. So I already said who I like in this fight. I like Jan over Izzy. I hate saying that. I'm a huge Izzy fan. Who do you got in this one?
I'm proud to say who I'm going with. I'll no doubt in my mind, I have no shortage of pride on that one. Definitely going with Jan. I mean, man, it's one thing when you're down going bantamweight and featherweight, 145, 155. You're down in those and you go up and down. But when you're in the bigger weight classes, the swing and power and velocity and damage is so much higher.
Mm-hmm.
Even from light heavyweight to heavyweight, just the swinging power is out of this world different. And for Izzy, who's already going to be coming into it small, I mean, I can't see him getting the 205 on straight muscle.
Right.
So he's not. I don't even think he's going to push. I think he's just going to come in at what he can come in as. But man, that's giving up a lot to Jan, this ain't his first rodeo, and that's the thing. I mean, he's been the champion before. He was KSW's first light heavyweight champion. He won it in a one-night tournament. So this dude has been around the block. I mean, they used to do it back in the day how the UFC did it, where you fought 3 or 4 times in one night to win the title. I mean, KSW has 58 coming up. That was like KSW 6. This guy was around and just knocking people out in Poland. And then, didn't really get a lot of respect, come over here and he earned it. He took care. He cleaned out Reyes when we said it, when nobody else would say it. We both called it here first when everybody else was afraid to. Man, I mean, he's not afraid. And you said it best when you said I think that's the biggest thing is he's not afraid to get in there and lead the dance. He will not let Izzy get in there and dictate what's going to happen. He's going to get in there. He knows what he needs to do. He's going to get in there and he's going to do it. And if Izzy follows suits, he does. If he doesn't, then he'll make him pay for it. He's not going to play the game. He's not going to, I mean, fighters adjust, but he's not going to go in there thinking, okay, let me see what he's going to do. I'll adjust my game plan. No, I'm coming in here. This is my game plan, and I'm going to make him follow this game plan.
Exactly. And another thing that people aren't talking about when talking about this matchup, Izzy's been knocked out before by smaller guys than Jan. So I'm scared for Izzy on this. But, hey, if he pulls it out against Jan, I'll proudly come on here and say, hey, I was wrong. Izzy's still the man. But I just don't see much of an avenue of him coming out on top against Jan. I just think it's a bad matchup for him.
Yeah, and when Izzy got knocked out, the big, meme one or whatever, when he got knocked out in Glory, that guy just is in MMA now. He had his debut in Cage Warriors, I think it was. Yeah, knocked out the dude in like less than a minute or whatever it was, cleaned him out. So, man, that's kind of, something to keep in the background. Watch this guy, if he ever comes over, that can make, UFC likes those big stories. They have that, Cage Warriors is always a feeder for them. So, that's way down the road. But, I mean, like you said, it's happened before. We've seen it happen, and we'll see if he gets in there and he underestimates Jan for 1 second. I think that's all Reyes did. He underestimated 1 second, and it's over just like that. Especially, like I said, there's less margin for error when it comes to power when you get higher up in weights. He's jumped, and it's not like 135 to 145. This is 185 to 205. This is a 20-pound jump. You know, he's going to be trying to push 200 pounds. I don't know how close he can get physically fit and be that. But man, this is not like a 10-pound difference. This is like the biggest gap in weight classes there are is middleweight to light heavyweight.
Exactly.
And he, that's playing with fire there.
Is size a big concern for y'all? Good question. Yes, that size is going to play a huge damn factor in this fight. Yes, it gives Izzy a bigger target to strike, but if he gets in that pocket, it's just going to be a long night for Izzy if he gets even close to that phone booth.
And messes with your cardio too. So that's something that Izzy's going to have to be prepared for. You're not going to go in there with the same gas you did 20 pounds lighter. So that's something that he needs to prepare for too. So it goes both ways. And I'd have to look up the stat. They always that at the weigh-ins. These people that miss weight and they have to give up 20% of their purse. But the record is like astronomical in their advantage for the person that comes in overweight to actually go in there and just demolish the guy who's actually doing his job and coming in on weight.
All right, Blake, ask another question. How does Izzy win this? Honestly, the only way I could see a picture in my mind, the only way I could see Izzy winning this is I don't see him finishing Jan. I just see him standing on the outside, try to pick him apart from the outside. But then again, Jan's not going to allow that to happen. Jan will make this a very dirty fight for Izzy, unlike what Paulo did, unlike what Yoel did.
Yeah, I mean, Izzy's exactly. He's going to try to stay on the outside, in and out, use his speed. He's going to have the speed advantage. He's going to have to use that to its absolute fullest potential. Not get greedy and go in there. Take your 1-2 shots when you can. Get out the pocket. Get back in, do what you can. Don't get in a firefight. He loves to dirty box. If he gets a hold of you, then that's going to be it. He's got to know when to let it go and not to get too greedy on his series of combos.
And that's where his experience comes into play. He knows when to get greedy. He knows when not to get greedy. I mean, yeah, he's come up short in a lot of fights, but that's what separates him from Izzy, that he learns from every mistake he's ever made. Every time we've seen Jan Blachowicz fight, he's better than the last time we saw him. And I'll take that to the bank. And so if you're a gambling man like myself and you're at the coast, you want to buy a ticket for this, the safe money for me is on Jan on this. Because especially the fact that if Jan Blachowicz had a different name or was from Brazil, America, Canada, or whatever, and he was just like shredded, like our boys from the Western Hemisphere, I guarantee you the odds would be a lot closer. It's just that Jan does not look like what we picture our 205 champion to be. He's just not that sexy 205 guy.
They grow them different over there. They do, yeah. But they're just as I mean, really, you look at the Polish guys, look at even the Russian guys. They're not chiseled out of stone, but they will put a hurting on you worse than anybody else will.
Yeah. All right. I like to move on now, and I would love to call out MMA fans, especially the ones who have been here for a long time. How dare y'all on this? Recently, it has been revealed that Jake Paul has his next fight against Ben Askren. And I'm sitting here looking at all the outlet. I'm looking at the underground message board. I'm looking at Sherdog. I'm looking at Reddit MMA, blah, 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 blah. And they're talking about how Jake Paul is going to absolutely mop the floor with Ben Askren. What the hell? I mean, Jake Paul has been only training boxing for the past year, I think. And he's going up against a guy who's been a world-class athlete since high school. Like, Ben Askren is no slouch, and he just got his hip replacement surgery. He's a fresh guy now. Honestly, if I'm going to bet on this as well, I'm thinking Ben Askren is going to beat the ever-living piss out of Jake Paul in a boxing match. Now, I'm thinking I'm going to collect on that as well. What you say?
Yeah, I mean, just if you can make it to that top level, the Bellators, the UFCs, it's not like how it used to be. You don't get there being really good at one aspect of mixed martial arts, regardless of who you are, regardless of if you've been Askren or not. You got to be able to do it all. You got to think of the hours that they spend in there, not just training. He doesn't just go in the gym and wrestle every day and then step into an octagon or step into a cage and win world championships all over the world and beat people. They have days of boxing, days of wrestling. So he's been training boxing his whole life.
Right,
It's
especially
not
under Dick Rufus.
Yeah, it's not like it's a new concept to him to learn how to strike. Like he's going to start striking now. It's something that he's been doing. So,
Right.
I mean, if you get to that level, you have to be able to do it all.
Exactly. And I've been watching people post his expert stand-up against Damian Maya. Yeah, it was pretty bad, but that was Ben Askren on half a hip. So, but if you go back to his Bellator days, the dude could still throw hands pretty damn well. So I think he's going to absolutely demolish Jake Paul in this boxing match, and I can't wait for it. Matt, we have a question for you. If y'all can use, I know this is an Otaro term. How do you think? How do you say this? The Rasengan?
I don't know.
That's from Nataro, isn't that little ball he throws?
Oh yeah.
I think you're the one with the Nataro. You're the Nataro fan. I figure you would know that. I watched the show maybe once or twice, and I knew that.
Yeah. I love it. I don't even think Jan needs that. I think he's got it.
Indeed. You know we're not playing. All right. So, yeah. Let's talk about, let's see what we got next on the menu. Wanted to quickly talk about Jake Paul versus Ben Askren. Khamzat Chimaev, Leon Edwards. It's canceled. I'm pretty pissed about that. I was ready to watch that. I was ready to see what Chimaev could do against a striker like Leon Edwards. Do you think this is our new Tony versus Khabib matchup?
I hope not, but I don't. With the way that Chimaev's been going, it may be Leon Edwards may be in his back window before too long. I just don't know if both of them will stay as relevant as they are right now, as long as Tony and Khabib can. Chimaev, he'll be back. He'll be back very soon, and I think once he does, he's gonna keep shooting up, and just have to see if Leon Edwards can. Hopefully he said he's still wanting to fight, so hopefully they can get him something. He knows it's a big payday for him, so he wants to try to stay relevant and get a fight in there. That way, when Chimaev comes back, hopefully he can have his number called first. But we'll have to see. I think one's going to leave the other in the back window before too long.
Yeah, the rumor is that a better offer came in for Chimaev, so he just said, all right, I'm just going to say COVID and leave it at that. And the rumor is that Stephen Thompson is waiting for him. What do you think of that one? That's just a rumor, though.
Hey, I'd love to see it. That's a big name. That's a high-ranking opponent. That, especially with Thompson coming off of a win. He's got a little bit going. So yeah, I love it. Throw him in there and let's see what can happen.
Yeah. Jason Wilson asked, what if GSP is only coming back to fight Khabib early? I think GSP actually wants that fight. Now that I think about it, I think he wants to fight. I just don't think Khabib's ready for that fight. I don't think he's mentally there, especially with the passing of Papa Nurmagomedov. I think he wants to just settle from that. He's not even a year removed from losing his dad. I mean, it took me a while to get over the death of my grandfather, and this is his actual father. So I don't think Khabib's ready to go down yet. I think we won't see Khabib back until late 2021 or maybe early 2022 to mid 2022. So I think GSP is going to get the winner of Conor and Dustin. So that's just my prediction, and I'm pretty sure it's a damn good one. All right, so now that we talked about Chimaev versus Edwards getting canceled, the possibility of Chimaev and Wonder Boy, I really want that one. So who do you like in that matchup, Chimaev or Wonder Boy?
Oh, I'm going with Chimaev. I'm going with him, just going all the way to the top. Yeah, I mean, man, it's just from even watching him before he came to the UFC and Brave, he was just one of those that you just know something's there. And I mean, he showed it so far. And man, I think he could put it on top. So he's not going to come in afraid. That's the one thing about Chimaev. He is not tentative. He's not going in there afraid of anybody, and that's a huge deal. We always say it's mental. The biggest part of this is mental over physical. And if you follow him on social media or anything, watch him before any of his fights and stuff, he is not afraid of anybody when he gets in there.
Yeah, but here's the thing about Chimaev. I finally remember a while back something that was said. Somebody said a quote yesterday about basketball that it clicked with me. I was like, that's Chimaev. Someone said the best basketball players in the world are the ones you never hear of. And that holds true to MMA. Some of the best fighters some of the best fighters in the entire world are the ones you don't know about that. And supposedly that's been Chimaev for like the past 5 years. Because there was a video a while back of Gunnar Nelson doing an interview, and the interviewer asked him, like, same interview questions I like to ask people is, who in your camp should we look out for? He said, without missing a beat, before the interviewer can finish off the question, he already had that answer loaded, ready to go. He said, Chimaev. And they're like, okay. So that was it. So then they asked Darren Till not too long ago, before Chimaev actually made his UFC debut. They were talking about Darren going over to Sweden to train for a little bit. And he was talking up Hamzat, saying, look, this cat can go. Like, he was like muscling me around, and he's much smaller than I am. So when I heard somebody say the best basketball players are the ones you never heard of, I immediately thought of Chimaev about that, because that's been him for like the past 5 years. No one's known who he was, but all of a sudden he just bursts on the scene. So it can't really be that surprising to some people. I know it's not surprising to you.
No. I mean, the good thing about what I love doing as a MMA journalist is I go out beyond the UFC. That's one of your biggest things, is to go out beyond it and explore the world beyond. And nobody goes straight to the UFC. They all come from somewhere. And that's always a thing that I've lived by when I do these articles or I watch these events. And a lot of times I get lucky enough to where for my MMA news or MMAsucker.com, they'll ask me to watch a certain event and just do results or something like that, get in touch with some of the fighters, help promote it. And I've done that before with Brave, and that's how I come across them. Covering a Brave event and just seeing them. And like I said, when certain people walk into the cage, they just have this omniscience, just this presence about them when they step into the cage. You just know they're going to be different. And I had heard a little bit about them, but I had never seen them or never felt that. And then when I watched it and he stepped into the cage, you just knew that something was different about him. Especially get that feeling, when you go to a regional show, you can tell who are your guys that are just in there because, they want to fight, and your guys that are in there because they're going to be somewhere much bigger one day. You can tell.
Yeah, I got that same feeling when I saw AJ Fletcher fight. I was like, this guy has an aura around him. This cat is good.
Yeah, definitely. And especially, I'm blessed to have that, sit ringside for commentary and get to talk to a lot of these guys. Even just talking to them, just going, sitting down in front of them, a lot of them you could just tell. You could tell who's there for the long haul, and who's just there just because they want to say they're a fighter. There's a lot more to it. And you can tell the ones that are in there for the long haul. You can tell the ones who are there. And when they walk out to the cage, you can feel it.
Yeah, and that's Chimaev, 100%. And that was Khabib when he first got in the UFC. Yep. I mean, I knew the name. I never really was watching Eastern MMA at the time as much as I wanted to, but I knew the name Khabib Nurmagomedov. I knew who the Eagle was, and he went in and he just shined like a diamond. I was like, he's going to go far. All right, so now that that's over, the World MMA News announced their awards for the year. This is Fighters Only magazine. You can go pick that magazine up almost anywhere. It's one of the best MMA magazines alive. If you're still a magazine person, I highly recommend picking it up.
It's one of the few left now.
Yeah, I remember Fight Magazine was my go-to back in the day, and all of a sudden, Fight Magazine folded up, broke my heart.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about this. The Fighter of the Year, they named Izzy Adesanya as their Fighter of the Year. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I
Would
mean,
you have gone Davison? Would you have gone? Who else could you have said it for Fighter of the Year?
man, it's hard to say because I know it's not a full year. It's like January of the previous year to June or something. So I think it stopped
Yeah,
at like June 2019 or June 2020. So sometimes it's hard in your head to calculate, okay, what happened before June and what happened after June, especially when you got
exactly.
events every weekend. It makes it hard to remember some of this stuff. Um,
It was from
so
January 2019 through July 2020.
yeah, so I mean, it makes it hard to tell what happened when, especially when you get towards the end of that. But I mean, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of these major award things are very UFC centric. So you're always that UFC is always going to get the leg up. So there's that. And then if you're a champion, you're always going to get kind of the leg up thing. So I mean, it kind of matches up. I mean, you can't really argue with it. So I guess that's always the safe route is to go with something you can't argue with. I mean, it's hard to say that the champion's not, your best fighter, especially with kind of he was always donned as the next Andrew, it was Uriah Hall, and now it's, Izzy, and Izzy's kind of stuck to it. I mean, especially when he beat Silva, and they made the whole passing the torch thing, and he's winning, he's not losing, so you can't really knock him and say, oh man, he's winning, but he's not winning a certain way, so I mean, you can't really argue with it.
Right. All right. The other nominees for that award were Henry Cejudo, Justin Gaethje, Douglas Lima, and George Masvidal. If you had to give it to one of those guys except Izzy, who would you give that to?
Who was the first one? Henry Cejudo?
Cejudo.
Man, see, I don't remember what his schedule, what his matchups were.
I know
I mean,
it was
isn't that when he ended up? He had both belts.
Marlon. It was Marlon and then Dillashaw, I think it was.
Okay, yeah, because he maybe go with Henry because I think he ended up winning both weight classes, the
Yeah, I
championship
think
in
that's when
both
he went
weight
champ.
classes. So I mean, yeah, it's kind of hard to argue with that, especially those names. Even TJ couldn't, with his juice issues, he couldn't even beat Henry. So there's always, but yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue when you go champ. So I may have gone with Henry. I know Jorge had an amazing year too, or time frame, but that's the thing. I always forget what happened. When was the
Yeah, it's
BMF?
such a
Was that
weird award
after?
thing.
So it messes me up because if you got BMF and Ben Askren, that's a hell of a year. But like, I don't know, I can't always remember what fell when. So I mean, man,
Yeah. And our female fighter of the year, obvious answer for that one was Amanda Nunes. Other nominees for that one was Chris Cyborg, Kayla Harrison, Shevchenko, and Zhang Weili. If you had to give it to somebody else, it has to be Zhang, right?
Yeah, definitely coming in the way she did, and she's just as big in China as we forget how large the population is there. Sometimes we don't realize. If you look at how many people in China probably know her or follow her, it could outweigh anybody that we support here in America just because of the sheer numbers. So
Exactly.
that's a huge market over there. So to have somebody, and China's always been a place that struggled with MMA talent. Japan's always done well with their talent, but China specifically has there's not really any Chinese, per se, that really jump out at you as all-time Hall of Fame, like just, pioneers of the sport from China.
Right.
So for her to kind of start, bringing that on, and I know you're going to get to it, her fight of the year with Joanna, those are good building blocks. The champion, so yeah, I mean, definitely. But man, I think a Nunes is going to keep winning that as long as she's around.
Exactly. I strongly agree with that. But speaking of her staying around as long as she wants to, I'm going to go ahead and label her next fight with Megan Anderson as an upset alert. I'm not picking Anderson, but don't be surprised if she pulls off the upset on this. So just keep that in mind. All right, so now we're going to go through their breakthrough fighter of the year. It was George Mosbidal. That was the year of Askren, the year of the BMF. That was obviously breakthrough fighter of the year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Other nominees were Gilbert Burns, Volkanovski, Zhang, and Peter Yan. That's a hell of a list right there for breakthrough fighter of the year.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would not have given it to George. I mean, from a marketing standpoint, yeah, I would have given it to him. But as far as just bursting onto the scene, I got to give it to
Volkanovski, yeah.
Because he just went in there, he upset Max Holloway, and he just showed off a skill set that only few people outside of his gym knew about.
Yeah, he's just a rugby player that decided he wanted to get in there and beat people up, and did it.
Yep. Let's see. International Fighter of the Year is Adesyana. I mean, obviously, if he's Fighter of the Year, he's got to be your international fighter. I mean, other nominees were Shevchenko, Usman, and Zhang. So I don't see any of them deserving it more than Izzy. Izzy has such a great damn year that year. Next was our Fight of the Year, Zhang versus Joanna. I can't disagree with that one. Other nominees was Izzy versus Kelvin, Josh Emmett versus Shane Burgos when Josh was fighting pretty much on one leg. We had Poirier versus Dan Hooker. That was easily my runner-up.
Yeah.
And we had Usman versus Colby. So do you think they got it right with that one?
I think so, but I mean, man, that's a hell of a top 4, top 5, or whatever they ran down to you right there.
That's a great
year. That's probably the top 4 or 5 right there.
So good. I think they nailed that.
They nailed that one, absolutely.
Yeah, viewers, if you have not watched Zhang versus Joanna, do yourself a favor and watch that. These are just two women that just went out there and tried to kill each other, for lack of a better term. So let's go to our next one.
What's up,
Knockout of the Year. Knockout of the Year. We have the winner, George Mosbidal versus Ben Askren. I think that was the obvious knockout of the year. That launched George Mosbidal from journeyman to superstardom right then and there.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's knew Mosbidal was a tough dude. That was never disputed, but he never was in that top, and that kind of catapulted, to just all the beef around it, and Askren coming in just undefeated, and there was a lot behind that. And then the fastest knockout ever on top of it. The flying knee is always, a high, appealing, move. Everybody wanted to go do the high knee, the flying knee knockout after that. Every gym was practicing in it the next class. I know firsthand, I saw it happen.
We had more fighters coming out with their hands behind their back as soon as ref says go.
Leaning on the cage. I mean, it did a whole string of things for Jorge. Ended up on the cover of the UFC game. So it really did a lot.
With, Donald Trump.
Yeah. I mean,
Donald Trump. Yeah, like that just launched him to a stratosphere bigger than the sport. I mean.
And I mean, that helped him get to that BMF fight too, so it kind of all started from that, every direction he went, it all started from that flying knee knockout. And then every direction he went from there kind of all catapulted off of that.
Yeah. Other nominees, man, I'm reading this nominee list and it was an absolute banger, pun intended. We had Garbrandt, KO, and Assunção. Amazing.
Right at the bell. Yeah.
Yeah, my winner, if I wasn't allowed to pick Mosbidal versus Askren, my winner would definitely be Lima knocking out Venom Page.
Yes,
that was one of my favorite knockouts of all time. We had Sean O'Malley versus Eddie Wineland, another great knockout. I love the one punch walk offs, and you had Pettis versus Stephen Thompson, another great knockout. That was a great year of knockouts.
Yeah.
In our submission of the year, we had Damian Maia choking out Ben Askren. I feel like Fighters Only's picking on Ben Askren right now. Our other nominees were, let's see, Bryce Mitchell versus Matt Sales. I feel like that should have got it. The Twister.
That was the Twister.
Yeah, we see rear naked chokes all the damn time. We've only seen a Twister one other time. I think they got that right. I'd have gave it to Bryce Mitchell.
Korean Zombie. Yeah. It's
all right. And our comeback of the year was Stipe Miocic versus Daniel Cormier. That was a hell of a fight, if I do say so myself, especially with there was some controversy surrounding it, but it is what it is. Other nominees were Eddie Alvarez versus Edouard Folyang at One Championship. That was a great fight. Cody Garbrandt's career. I wouldn't say that just yet. I mean, he only got one knockout, and that was the only thing he's done. And Rosenstrike versus Overeem was another nominee.
Yeah.
That was also a good one.
Yeah.
Upset of the year, we got Volkanovski versus Max Holloway. We just discussed that about how if it wasn't George, breakthrough star of the year was definitely Volkanovski, especially an undersized featherweight going up against one of the biggest featherweights I've ever seen, Max Holloway. He went in there and did the damn thing.
Yeah.
Let's see. Upset of the year. What else we got? Henry Corrales versus Aaron Pico. Nachukin upsetting Eddie Alvarez. And Kamaworthy and Devontae Smith. Not the Devontae Smith from A&E who's going to win the Heisman. Not that one. Totally different one, everybody. And so that wraps it up. We also had Gym of the Year was American Top Team. And there's something I'd like to point out when I was reading over the nominees. American Kickboxing was on there. Elevation Fight Team, Fortis MMA and Sanford MMA. You notice a name missing? Jackson Winklejohn wasn't listed.
Yeah.
That's crazy for me. How the mighty have fallen. Ever since that Mass X and soon Cerrone and all those fighters left, and was with I think it was Winklejohn took over pretty much everything. Everybody just left, and that fight gym just went straight to shit. I mean, as an assistant coach, Mike Winklejohn's the man, but as far as head coach go, Greg Jackson was a genius.
Yeah.
All right, so that's our World MMA Awards breakdown. Let's go to our rankings. We finally came up with some rankings. All right, so let's go. You want to do what weight division would you like to? You want to go small up to heavy or heavy to fly?
Whatever. It don't matter.
All right, let's go to heavyweight division. All right, I'm going to go with mine first on this one. I'm going to count down 10 to 1. I'm a countdown kind of guy. All right, my 10, I got Cyril Gane. My number 9, I got Alexei Oleinik. For my number 8, I got Alexander Volkov. My number 7, Alistair Overeem. Number 6 is Ryan Bader. 5, Rosenstrike. 4, Derek Lewis. 3, Curtis Blades. 2, Francis Ngannou. And my number 1 heavyweight is obviously Stipe Miocic. So, Matt, what's yours?
All right, number 10, I got Kevin Zaflarski. He is an upcoming Polish heavyweight. Just knocking people out over there in Poland. Young guy, young heavyweight, working his way up the ranks. Number 9, Augusto Saki. Number 10, I got number 8, Vitaly Minakov. Number 7, I got Cyril Gane. Number 6, I got Derek Lewis. Number 5, I got Rosenstruck. Number 6, I got Phil Dufrese, who is the KSW heavyweight champion.
Yes, he is. Beast.
Yeah, absolutely. He didn't have a great run in the UFC, but a lot of them after that, they just have a resurgence in a career, and he's done just that. You know, he's beat everybody since. He's defended. He just had his 4th title defense. Finishes everybody. He beat Thomas Narkun, who is the light heavyweight champion, who is almost like the next up-and-coming golden child for KSW, really their guy in the spotlight, their next Mamed Khalidov, you know, the guy they're really pushing as their next figurehead. He tried to take Phil Dufrese's heavyweight title at KSW 50. Dufrese just manhandled him, submitted him, got him out of there. Number 3, Curtis Blades. Number 2, Ngannou. And number 1, Stipe.
That's a good one. I like it. All right, let's go to light heavyweight now. My light heavyweight, I've got number 10, Yuri Prochaska. I cannot say this cat's name for a life of me. Yuri Prochaska. He's a great fighter. Number 9, Anthony Smith. 8, Ryan Bader. 8, Ryan Bader. 7, Phil Davis. 6, Thiago Santos. 5, Dom Reyes. 4, Vadim Netkov. 3, Clover Teixeira. 2, Jan Blachowicz. And 1, I still have John Jones ranked as my number 1. Until he fights at heavyweight, he's going to stay at light heavyweight for me.
People are going to think I hate the UFC. I really don't. I just put that disclaimer out there. I'm just a lot more versed actually in Eastern MMA, really, more so than over here, because that's mainly what I focus on for my writings and stuff like that. So I've kind of became more of an Eastern, you know, bias type fighter. Of course, Poland, you know, obviously. But, man, there's a lot of – if you ever get a chance to go watch some of those, like, you know, ACB or ACA now, it's based out of Russia. You know, M1 Challenge in Russia. You know, KSW Fight Night exclusive in Poland. Man, there's a lot of amazing guys out there. Number 10, I have Dominic Reyes. Number 9, I have Jiri. Number 8, I have Thiago Santos. Number 7, I have Alexander Rakic. Number 6, I have Glover Teixeira. Number 5, I got Phil Davis. I'm kind of back and forth on that one. I guess it can kind of go either way with Glover and Phil. I guess it just depends who's feeling better that day for me. Corey Anderson, number 4. I got Nemkov at 3, Blachowicz at 2, and the Giraffe, Thomas Narkun at number 1. His only loss recently is that one to Phil Dufrese, but that's a top 5 heavyweight to me. So that still puts him as one of the best light heavyweights in the world. Just a dangerous striker. He beat Mamed Khalidov twice in a row. Just dangerous striker, dangerous submission guy. He's got the nickname the Giraffe for a reason. When he gets on the ground with somebody, it's an easy finish. He's amazing on the ground off his back. So this dude's a dangerous guy. This is one of those guys that not in the UFC, probably never will go to the UFC because he's never going to have to. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. A lot of these guys over there, they don't feel like they have to go to the UFC to be successful in their career.
Right. Because I feel like this is going to be the year everybody's going to realize that there's more promotions out there than UFC. Because right now, when it comes to the light heavyweight division, UFC is not the premier promotion for light heavyweight fights. That belongs to Bellator now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Both of our lists, we have several Bellator guys, and we could never say that before. Several Bellator guys in your top of anything. And like I said, these guys, especially overseas, they take care of their fighters, and a lot of them don't want to leave, especially Poland. Mamed Khalidov, absolutely skilled enough to where he could have gone to the UFC if he wanted to. I even talked to him about it. He's like, I never felt like I had to. I didn't need to. I have everything I have here. I'm the king of Poland, and not saying it to be, cocky of himself, but he is. Why leave someplace where you're the king to go, to UFC where a lot of these big companies and stuff like that, just like any other big company in the world, it's politics. MMA, military, government, whatever you want to call it, politics are around. If you're the king in Poland, why go somewhere else where you don't know what's going to happen? You have everything you need, everything you could want there. They look at it different. They feel fulfilled there like that. And I think this is one of those guys that we'll never see in those matchups because he doesn't have to.
I agree. All right, let's move down to middleweight now. I have at my number 10, Uriah Hall. 9, Kevin Holland. 8, Marvin Vettori. 7, Darren Till. 6, Yoel Romero. I know he's moving up to light heavyweight in Bellator, but I'm keeping him here until he actually has that fight. 5, Paulo Costa. 4, Jared Cannonier. 3, Gegard Mousasi. 2, Robert Whitaker. And number 1, Izzy. And you don't have Izzy as your number 1 now, do you?
No, I think I've dropped the name a few times on who I got number 1. Number 10, I got Scott Askren, former UFC guy. Another guy like Phil Dufrese who just kind of got to KSW, rebuilt his career, had a great run there. Jared Cannonier at 9, Darren Till at 8, Cezary Kesik at 7, who is one of the young KSW guys making his way up. I got Gegard Mousasi at 6, Marvin Vettori at 5, Paulo Costa at 4, Robert Whitaker at 3, Adesyana at 2, and at number 1 I have Mamed Khalidov. Dude is still doing it. He's still doing it. Just the knockout of the year on Scott Askren. The dude has just been knocking people out for years. This is a guy that seriously, I drop a lot of names and I say a lot of stuff about Polish MMA and KSW. If you have never even heard of Mamed Khalidov, you need to YouTube something about him. Like, I know I do this a lot about KSW guys, but this is one that's no joke. Like, if you have not seen Mamed Khalidov fight, he's just got the look. His nickname is the Cannibal. He has got the look. He's just got I've shown him to people before. I'm like, man, he looks like a mafia hitman. Like, one of my best friends that I work with, I showed him. I was like, man, you ever heard of Mamed Khalidov? He's like, no, I never heard of him. I showed him. It's like, that dude looks like a mafia hitman who will straight up kill you. I was like, the dude will.
Scott Askren.
He has got a highlight reel of knockouts. Like, he has been their middleweight champion. He has been their light heavyweight champion. He's done it. What Izzy's trying to do, Mamed Khalidov has done it, did it, and been gone with it. He's been the light heavyweight champion, went to middleweight, fought there, got rid of the light heavyweight title. Naturally a smaller guy, stayed down there, just ruled the division for years. You know, he headlined KSW 39, which had almost 60,000 people, second highest attended live MMA event ever. So, I mean, the dude's been in front of all the lights. And like I said about Narcoon, you'll never see Khalidov because he doesn't have to. And we have, unfortunately, this mindset here in the States where if you're not in the UFC, then you're not really, you know, you haven't really made it. Same thing with like major sports. So if you're not playing in Major League Baseball, you haven't made it. But we see some of these Korean guys, these guys and Japanese guys, these guys are awesome. They just they're just doing it on a different platform. Khalidov is one of those handful of guys who doesn't need the UFC to be who he is.
Maybe the Cubs could go to Korea and Japan, get some guys since they're trying to ball on the budget right now.
Oh, I'm hurting right now. Man.
Everybody, but this ain't a baseball show. That's a different conversation for a different time. All right, so let's move down to the premier. In my opinion, the best division in all of MMA, the premier division. Let's go to welterweight. All right, for my welterweight, I have – oh, shit, where am I? All right, here it is. All right, I've got number 10, Neil Magny. Number 9, Santiago Ponzinibbio. 8, Stephen Thompson. 7, George Mosbidal. 6, Vicente Luque. 5, Leon Edwards. 4, Colby Covington. 3, Gilbert Burns. 2, Douglas Lima. And number 1, Kamaru Usman.
Man, so, and that's the thing about this division. You can have 50 people that will have a totally different top 10 all the way down the board.
And you really can't argue with it. This is like the most objective division when it comes to them and lightweight. Those two divisions are by far the most stacked divisions in all combat sports.
Man, I looked at mine. I was like, man, my welterweights aren't too bad. And I listened to yours. I was like, man, that's not too bad either. We have like a ton of them that aren't even on each other's lists. But it's like, man, that's not a bad list either. It's just really how you see it. And man, it's crazy. I got Jorge Masvidal at number 10, Vicente Luque at 9. Still got Michael Page on there. He's a young guy. I think he's gonna, Bellator. They take a lot of these guys. What people don't realize, a hell of a lot longer than earlier than what UFC does. Aaron Pico as an example. And these guys, they take their bumps on a big stage. A lot of these guys go to these regional shows that we go to as fans of, I call as a commentator. We see their bumps and bruises along the way. And you work on these things, they tighten them up, and then when they're in the UFC lights, they look like a god in the ring. But you didn't see all those bumps and bruises they took along the way. Guys like Aaron Pico and Michael Page, who make their pro debuts in Bellator, all of their errors are brought to light. And it's like, oh man, well he was all hype. Man, this dude is taking bumps against the biggest bright stages in front of everybody to see.
Right.
And that's I think
that reminds me of like who's the guy? Ultimate Fighter winner who got his very first pro fight officially was the Ultimate Fighter finale. Who what? Amir Sadala.
Yeah.
Tim Crater's season of Ultimate Fighter. Dude never had a professional fight.
Yeah.
Going into Ultimate Fighter. He had one of the best runs in Ultimate Fighter history. He grew up. His career grew up in the UFC. And I'm of the opinion if he never went to the Ultimate Fighter, he went up in the professional local area scene, I think his career would have went much different. But the fact that he went into the welterweight division in the UFC with 0 professional fights, I think his career would have went completely different. That's just how the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, like I said, Bellator just molds them different. So I think Michael Page is just a victim to that right now, if you look at his numbers. Leon Edwards at 7, Douglas Lima at 6, Gilbert Burns at 5, Colby Covington at 4, Chimaev at 3, Roberto Soldic at number 2. And, man, I had a hard time not putting him number 1. This is another one of those guys, those KSW guys. He's actually from the Czech Republic, but he's one of those KSW guys. He was the welterweight champion, middleweight champion, just name it. He could do it all. Right now, he's the welterweight champion. His only loss recently was to Dracus Duplessis, who is in the UFC now. Duplessis just caught him. That simple as that. Duplessis just caught him, and they had a rematch, and Soldic just ran through him and destroyed him. This dude takes fights on last second notice. Defends his title on last second notice.
Doing that.
No, it was like KSW 48 or 49. They called they had a main event drop out, bumped the co-main up. They said, "Hey, we need you for a co-main. We defend the title." It's like, give me somebody to fight and I'll destroy him. Defended his title in the co-main on a week notice and just destroyed the guy. Like he doesn't care. He gets in there and he fights and he destroys people. And then right now, Kamaru Usman is number one. This is hard to, until somebody can beat him. That's just hard to argue with right now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, let's move on to our lightweight division, like our most talked about division, I think, ever since, because whatever division Conor McGregor's in, that's going to be the most talked about division, especially with Khabib dropping the title. So that he announced his retirement, so therefore I'm not ranking him. The same reason I didn't rank DC at light heavyweight. You announce your retirement, I ain't ranking you.
I don't have him either. That's why, yeah.
All right, so let's go to it. My number 10 is Mike Chandler. Number 9, Diego Fierro. 8, RDA. 7, Tony Ferguson. 6, Dan Hooker. 5, Patricio Pitbull. 4, Charles Oliveira. 3, Conor McGregor. 2, Justin Gaethje. And number 1 is Conor McGregor. Again, that's just because you're not in UFC doesn't mean you can't make these lists. Look at Patricio Pitbull, one of my favorite fighters ever. He earned, I hate the Pitbull nickname, except for Patricio and Patricky. They've both earned it, in my opinion, because that's just how they fight, like a damn pit bull.
Yeah.
All right, so who you got for lightweight?
As tends to be, I have a couple names outside the UFC. Number 10, I have Soren Bach, he was a Cage Warriors champion. He's in Bellator now, having a good run there. Young guy, so he's fun to watch. Number 9, I got Tony Ferguson. I think this was before the fight, so I may need to go in and change. But as of right now, I'm going to leave it how it is.
I don't want to do this every week. That's going to be taxing on us. We got jobs.
I think we did this right before the fight. And, with the holidays and stuff, I don't think we ever jump back in and adjusted these. So, they're all subject to change, of course. But at the time of this, and then I have Paul Felder at number 8, got RDA at number 7, got Norman Park at number 6, who is the KSW lightweight champion.
Another career resurgence after leaving the UFC. Yep. I mean, he was a tough winner from the New Zealand-Australia one. Probably one of the best seasons ever. We got Robert Whittaker out. There's just so much good fights on that one, too. They adequately named that season the Smashes, I think it was called.
Yeah, something like that.
And Norman Park won, what was it, lightweight? Yeah, he won the lightweight tournament, I think. Yeah, so he went to the UFC off of that. Didn't have the best of luck. Left, and now he's having a great run in KSW.
Yeah, he's been having a great run. He's been going back and forth with Mateus Gamrot. Gamrot vacated he was the lightweight and featherweight champion, vacated the titles to come to the UFC. So that left that one open. Obviously, he was a top contender. Took a hold of the title. He'll probably have it for a while. He kind of went back and forth with Gamrot. Then I got McGregor at 5, Oliveira at 4. I just feel if they fought, that if it did go to the ground, Oliveira, it would be the Nick.
110%.
It would be the Nick Diaz effect, as I like to call it. Number 3, I have Abdul Aziz Abdul Vakavov. He is
that soup.
It's a dangerous dude. He's one of those. He's a ace. I always want to say ACB, the ACA. I guess they changed the name of it now in Russia. He's the same thing as Mahmed and Thomas Narkun and those guys. This guy does not need to leave Russia to be a god. He has got everything he needs there. He is one of their top, touted, fighters of all time. And so, I mean, he doesn't have to leave. If you go to ACA, that's who you got to get through. I have Gaethje at number 2, and right now I got Dustin Poirier at number 1.
That's pretty much we got Justin at 1 and 2. I think that's one of the few ones we actually agree on. Derek Ebersol second. The ref stopped the fight between Ohio State and Clemson. Ohio State's up 35 to, I think, 14 at the half. So no early stoppages in college football, unfortunately. I wish they did do that kind of shit. I think it'd be hilarious if refs can wave it off. All right, so we're on featherweight now. So let's go ahead. And this is probably the most underrated division in my opinion. I think this is a division that should get more love, but it's not just because it's the small boy division is what as I like to call it.
Yeah.
All right, so my number 10, I got Korean Zombie. At number 9, I got Calvin Kattar. At number 8, I got AJ Mckee, Bellator boy. I think he's going to shoot up the rankings in the near future. Lost my place. Oh, number 7, I got Yair Rodriguez. 6 is Zabit Magomed Sharipov. 5, I got Parnas. 4, Brian Ortega. 3, Max Holloway. 2, I'm double dipping this one. I got Patricio Pitbull on this. He fights both, so I'm ranking him in both. I love Patricio Pitbull. And my number 1, I got Alexander Volkanovski.
And I must say, my heart smiled when I saw your number 5. I saw some KSW love on your list, and my heart just smiled. So
actually, I love watching his film. There's just something
that
about
is
him.
Amazing dude, man. I used to watch. I've watched him a couple times on the French scene. He was one of those, and we're going to see a big, huge surge. And I've written on that a lot lately. France just legalized MMA at the beginning of 2020.
Yeah. I mean, that's amazing to think about. Since you have Czech Congo there, Cyril Diabate, I think he was in there. It's amazing that they came up despite their country not even allowing it.
Yeah, it's correct. I mean, they have MMA, but the way their rules are before it's accepted as now is like as soon as there was a knockdown or a takedown, then you stopped. And then the referee put you in a mutual spot on the ground. Kind of like they do whenever if they like BJJ and you roll off the mat, they kind of put you back in the same position. That's the same thing they would do. If you get a takedown, then they separate you. They move you somewhere and they put you together. And then they pull you up and stand you up. So it's real. It was real, you know. It was crazy, but it was just their way to try to get around to have MMA. But yeah, these guys would go train all over the world because they couldn't do it at home. You know, they couldn't compete.
Right.
So he's one of those guys. There's Mannion Ferro. She is a female. She was the EFC strawweight champion. She just signed with the UFC. She's got a fight coming up on the next card. I think she's fighting Victoria Leonardo from Louisiana, but man,
I'm going with our girl. I'm sorry. Sorry,
man. I got to go with Frenchie on this one because I've seen her throw down. Oh, damn.
I'll never pick against Louisiana boys.
Yeah, girls. Victoria looked good too. She won in that contender series. She looked good, but man, I guess back to the rankings. I got number 10, I got Calvin Kattar. Number 9, I got Daniel Rukowski, who is, of course, a KSW guy coming up. Number 8, I have the Korean Zombie. At number 7, I got Max Holloway. Number 6, I got AJ Mckee Jr. I got Pitbull at 5. Parnas at 4. Magomed Sharipov at 3. Brian Ortega at 2. And Volkanovski at 1.
Volkanovski, like I said, that's just a dude who just popped all of a sudden. That's why his star power is not there yet. But if you haven't seen him, watch him. That dude's going to reach the top of the mountain when it comes to the small boy weights, and I will die on that hill. I also like to see Parnas in the UFC. I would love to see what he could do. But
and he's one that made he's a lot younger guy. He's 21, 22. From France, it's a little bit different than being a little bit more east of Polish, where the Russian, where the mindset's a little bit different. So you may very well see him. I mean, he's a KSW featherweight champion. Get a few more solid wins under his belt, and he could follow, Gamrot and I think Solich will end up in the UFC soon, but follow Duplessis and a lot of those middleweight, type guys to make that transition over to the UFC. That's a dangerous guy if he gets in the UFC.
Yeah, the 2021 is going to be the KSW invasion of UFC, I feel like, or just America in general. Bellator, UFC, PFL, you name it. I feel like Poland's that new country. Last year it was Nigeria, and this year I feel like it's going to be Poland. All right, so bantamweight. I've got, let's see, at my number 10, I've got Pedro Munoz, 9, Cody Garbrandt, 8, Frankie Edgar, 7, Marlon Moraes, 6, Juan Archuleta. That's your Bellator right there. Anton Rakic, Vidiano Fernandez, 3, Corey Sandhagen, 2, Aljo Sterling, and number 1, Peter Yan. And I almost did something here. I actually almost put Aljo at number 1, who's not even the champion. I almost put the champion at number 2. I just couldn't really decide on that just because just off the eyeball test, I just think Aljo's beaten better fighters. I think everybody counts him out because he caught like a nasty knee to the head against Marlon Moraes. And yeah, Peter Yan, Adam, you're right. Yan is scary.
Yes.
Don't count out Aljo. The dude is a legit boxer. His ground game is super slick. He's a Matt Serra black belt. And even Renzo Gracie has said, like, this dude is a problem on the ground. And if that's coming from Renzo Gracie, then you got some stink to your name. So, Matt, you're bantamweight.
Well, definitely need to change this one after the Rising. I had Kei Askarua.
Extra.
Yeah, he was the Rising champion, but obviously, Horiguchi handled him pretty quick.
Handled stupid quick. I did not.
Yeah. So that one probably needs to be flopped out. But I got Archuleta 9, Anton Rakic at 8, Pedro Munoz at 7, Cody Garbrandt at 6, Marlon Moraes at 5, Corey Sandhagen at 4. At number 3, another one of those Russian guys, Kuskin Askabov. He's 25 years old, 23-0, champion in Russia.
I couldn't rank him because I really haven't seen enough of his tape for me to rank him in good conscience. So that's the only reason why I did not rank him. I think he has a very impressive record. His finishes are good. So I wanted to, I just couldn't do it in good conscience.
Yeah, I mean, you got to watch a lot of those records on a lot of those guys. But I've seen him perform. You can't find it in English. You just have to listen to the foreign commentary. I like to put it on mute and just commentate it myself. So I'll watch those guys and do it. But man, that's one of those, and that's a good way too. Put it on mute and see if you feel it. And he's one of those guys. You put it on mute, you can feel it.
I mean, I'm not no disrespect to you. You're a local commentator. I don't listen to local commentary very much when it comes to like West Coast MMA, East Coast, up north. I don't really listen to it. I just usually put it on mute. I have some music on in the background and just lose myself in the fight.
Yeah, to me, MMA, it's a multi-sense sport. Use all your senses for it. If you can just feel it, you don't have to hear anything. Because a lot of those guys, like Cormier, he gets up and going, and that kind of raises your blood pressure too, because he's up and he's hyped and he's yelling.
Right. But, it also makes you a little biased doing your scorecard at that too.
Yeah.
At the time, when you watch Johnny Hendricks versus GSP, you're thinking Johnny Hendricks beat the piss out of GSP. But no, if you go back and you watch that fight on mute, it's kind of clear that GSP won.
Yeah, that's
Condit, Diaz, all those fights. If you take the commentators, oh, and you hear the crowd, oh, but you really don't like you see the shots actually miss or get blocked, but those commentators usually get you going, so it's kind of more biased that way.
Yeah, and I kind of like the stadiums the way they are right now because you don't have a lot of that with the crowd,
Right. So, I prefer it this way, to be honest with you.
I like it. Like I said, put it on mute and see if you feel that fighter. And he's one of those guys that you can feel. So he's kind of got that it factor. And then, of course, Aljamain at 2 and Yan at 1. Those could easily flip-flop. That's going to be 1 and 2 for a while. I think they're going to be right there. I think they're young guys. That could be the next young rivalry. We have two exciting guys.
I feel like this is not going to be the only time we see them scrap. If Aljo comes out on top, I see Yan getting an immediate rematch. But if Yan beats Aljo, I see Aljo getting a fight or two, and he's back in Yan's face.
Yeah.
This is going to be a 1-2 for a while. All right, so let's go down to our last division. Let's go back to one of my favorites, actually, is in the flyweight division. At my number 10, I've got Kai Kara France. At my number 9, Raulian Pavia. Number 8, Formiga. 7, Brandon Royval. 6, Alex Perez. 5, Joseph Benavidez. 4, Askar Askarov. 3, Brandon Moreno. 2, Figgy. And number 1, he's held that flyweight number 1 since the division was created in the UFC, Mighty Mouse, Demetrius Johnson. And, man, in the Figgy, Brandon Moreno, I cannot wait for them to run that back. That was a hell of a fight. I loved every second of it. So that's going to be another one that's going to be flip-flopping like Aljo and Jan. We're going to have Figgy Moreno. That's going to be a rivalry right there. Whoever, if Brandon Moreno wins that, I can see that going to a trilogy.
Yeah. Either way that one goes, you'll probably get a third one out of those two. You didn't have a winner, but and you really did, because both of those guys ended up winning off of that.
Mm-hmm.
But number 10, got to go with Matt Schnell out of Louisiana flyweight.
I love Dangerous Schnell, baby.
Yeah. I got Brandon Royval at 9, Tatsuki Samoto at 8, Alex Perez at 7, Pantoja at 6, Moreno at 5, Benavidez at 4, Oscar Ascarez at 3, Figueiredo at 2, and Mighty Mouse at 1.
That's a good list. I actually like your list. I kind of like your list a little bit better than mine, but it is what it is. That's the flyweights for you. It's not a great division, but the top are fun to watch. I love flyweights. I love the area of the cover. I love the movement. I'm a big movement guy when it comes to martial arts. I love watching guys like Stephen Thompson work their footwork, Dominic Cruz, just guys like that. That's why I like the fly division so much. So that's it. I mean, I think that does it for us tonight. You got anything you want to add?
That's it. Good to start 2021 off and rolling hard from here.
Let's go. And we got a fight tomorrow. We actually got Calvin Kattar fighting Max Holloway, I think. Is that who's fighting? Or is that next Saturday?
That's next. There's nothing tomorrow.
All right, nothing tomorrow. So let's just have a week of rest, and we're going to hit 2021 off the ground running with some featherweight.
Actually, I don't think it's till the 16th. I think there's nothing next week either, because I know they were taking like a 3-week break. So, yeah, I don't think there's anything next week either. So just shoot the shit next week, too.
All right, let's do it, because it's never a slow news week in combat sports world.
There's always something to talk about. Absolutely.
All right, so anything else you like to end it with?
That's it. Just telling everybody, AYS Fightclub. Tell all your friends about the Fight Club. Let's get more people in here.
Number one rule. All right. Thank y'all for joining the club tonight.